Most people walk straight past Blu-rays at the thrift store, but that's a mistake. There are Blu-rays that can go on to sell for $100, $200, even $700, and most people just assume they're junk. In this video today, I'm going to show you 30 profitable Blu-rays that you can find in thrift stores for a super cheap price that go on to sell for some fantastic money. But also too, I'm going to show you the 10 reasons why these Blu-rays go on to sell for as much as they do. So hopefully you can spot them before you even go ahead and do your comp research. We're going to kick it off with the TV show season box sets. I think this is a great one to keep an eye on in your local thrift stores because you can often find the complete series sets selling for some ridiculous money on eBay. So a couple of really good examples here. We've got Fringe, all 5 seasons of the TV show Fringe on Blu-ray selling for $100. We've got Battlestar Galactica. There are 4 seasons to collect on Blu-ray of this show. Plus there are some additional movies and extras, and you can get over $100 for that one as well. And then you've got the TV show Justified as another example. There are 6 seasons of this TV show to try and find, but on eBay, it sells for $120. Often when it comes to Blu-ray, there are more movies, blockbuster movies being printed out on the Blu-ray than there are of the TV shows that you love to watch. You can often find these TV shows on DVD quite commonly, but to pick it up as a Blu-ray, well, that's a trickier process. Therefore, the price of these goes up when it comes to selling them, or at least buying them on eBay. Now, when I'm out thrifting, guys, there is a process that I will go through using the eBay app and also the eProfit calculator to determine whether or not those price points per what I'm seeing them priced at in the thrift store is going to be profitable. There's a little bit of work to it. You need to know what you're doing so you can go in there and confidently make these purchases. So I've made a step-by-step guide for you to access right here. It's totally free. Go ahead, use the link in the description below or scan that barcode and I'll step you through the process to how to price check your items correctly. Now, the next reason these Blu-rays do so well is because a lot of them do eventually become out of print, and the terminology you want to find is OOP. Now, you're not going to find that on the Blu-ray itself when you're in a thrift store. It's not going to just simply shine at you saying OOP, please buy me. But you can do this research through eBay and you can check the previously sold items of your Blu-ray, and then if they're using terminology like OOP rare, well, that's the exact reason why the price is jacking up. So there are a couple of really good examples of out of print Blu-rays that are selling for big money on eBay. And the first one is a pretty crazy one. This is Freaky Friday, the movie, Freaky Friday, a 15th anniversary edition. This is a Disney Money Club exclusive. Guys, there is a comp on eBay that is sold for $730. Now, I don't know if that's just some funny money laundering business that's going on there with that one, but I did a direct search for this title and I did find another comp that was selling for some ridiculous money. So regardless of whether or not you can actually get $730 for this Blu-ray, it is still an absolute bolo because it is out of print. You can't get it on print production in retail stores anywhere around the world now. Therefore, finding it on pre-owned condition, or even if you're lucky, brand new condition on eBay, you're going to get an astronomical price point. And a lot of people, guys, they don't know this. They don't know that the 15th anniversary of Freaky Friday is doing so well. But now you do, which is a huge advantage for you. The next one that we've got here is a TV show called SureScope. Now, this is a box set. It's quite a big, large, bulky item, so it's going to be probably pretty easy to spot when you're in a thrift store. But this box set is only for Collection 1. Now, I'm not sure if SureScope has multiple box sets out there, but just Collection 1 alone was selling on eBay for $625, and there was multiple sales at that high-end price point. So I'd never personally heard of SureScope before I did my research into these Blu-rays, but that is a big one now that I've added to my list. The other one that I've got for you is a really good one because this one looks like something that would only cost you about $20 to pick up on eBay, but it is worth, well, I'll tell you right now, it's worth $200. This one is Spider-Man No Way Home 3D. No Way Home 3D, the movie on Blu-ray. It's not often that you'll get the movies doing tremendously well, but this one right here, a very common blockbuster movie, for some reason had so few print runs on Blu-ray that collectors out there are going to go up and pay $200 to get their hands on this thing. So out of print, guys, make sure you're looking for it. Now guys, if you're enjoying this video, I've got a lot more coming out just like this, but there was an interesting statistic that I saw the other day, and it was that more people are watching these videos that are unsubscribed to the channel versus subscribed. So if you could double check for me to see whether or not you are subscribed to the channel, and go ahead and do so if you want to see more videos like this on the channel, because I'm just going to continue to make them as best as I possibly can. And when I see those numbers ticking up, it just motivates me to make the next video. For reason number 3, there's often times where I'll search up a Blu-ray and I'll literally never know, or I'll never be able to pinpoint the reason why that price point was so high. But often it comes down to something like this, which is boutique labels. There are certain labels that collectors out there love to try and purchase. Whether or not it's a certain movie or a TV show that they love, they just want to buy the distribution label. Now, a couple of examples of these labels that do really well for Blu-ray collectors out there are companies like Arrow Video. You've got Shout Factory, do really, really well for the horror Blu-rays. You've got Eureka, Indicator, a big one, Criterion Collection, and the other one that I've got here is Imprint. And I would argue that Imprint is one of the best ones for us as Aussies to try and find, because it is a Australian distribution label. So I've got a couple of examples here of some distribution labels that do incredibly well for collectors in the Blu-ray category. And the first one here is Antichrist. This is a Criterion Collection Blu-ray, and it goes on to sell for $40, which is not too bad for a standalone movie. The next one that you've got is The Wicker Man. The Wicker Man is seen as a bit of a bigger box set. It is from Imprint, so it is an Australian production, and it's gone on sale for $170 on eBay. And then the other one as well is the Hammer House of Horror. I believe this one is an Imprint as well, so an Australian production. It's gone on to sell for $175 on eBay. Now, you can find these little distribution labels positioned on the Blu-ray. If you zoom in right here, you'll be able to see the Imprint brand. And that is often what collectors are looking for. They're looking for all of the movies, all of the titles that fall under the umbrella of that distribution label. So it gets right down to the nitty gritty for these collectors out there, but we've got to service them. We've got to find these titles, and this is how we do it. Reason number 4, and look, I've seen this quite a lot across media in general, horror does really well as a genre on Blu-ray. If you're finding a horror Blu-ray, go ahead and just do some comp research straight away, because that's one of the 10 biggest reasons why Blu-rays go on to sell so well. Just purely genre alone, and the horror category is almost one of the biggest for value. So a couple of, I guess, examples here is sort of your vintage horrors, your 80s to 90s horror films, your slasher film, your cult classics, your monster creature sort of features. Obscure 70s and 90s titles go on to sell really well as well. So some examples that I've got for you in the horror category that do well is Psycho. Psycho, the Legacy Collection. So it's not necessarily every single individual Psycho movie, but the actual Legacy Collection on Blu-ray has gone on to sell for $270. You've also got the Halloween Collector's Edition. So Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis, back in the day, it's certainly fitting the characteristics of what this horror genre Blu-ray goes on to sell for. But this one was selling for $200 on eBay, which is some fantastic numbers. And then you've got this one, which was a unique one that I'd not heard of before. Not necessarily as much of a classic as the rest, but you've got Slumber Party Massacre 2 and 3, and it was, again, going on to sell for another $200. So I'm not going to say that every single horror film that you find on Blu-ray is going to be worth the purchase, but definitely at least do your comp research on horror Blu-rays, because the strike rate is usually pretty high. Now, for reason number 5, this is something that I've definitely discredited over my journey of being an eBay seller for the last 5 years when it comes to physical media. Anything that has a slipcase can be seen potentially in the eyes of a collector as more valuable or more sought after. Individual slipcases, which is the cover that goes over the Blu-ray, some of them could sell for $30, $40, $50 just simply on their own, because they want to complete the original artwork of the Blu-ray. It gets right down to that, guys, which is pretty crazy, but people out there are searching for all of these characteristics. So some examples here of slipcovers. We've got, well, firstly, Scream Trilogy. Scream Trilogy number 1 through to number 3, plus the slipcover with it as well, has gone on to sell for $160. And what you'll notice is these guys with their comps on eBay, they've actually written plus slipcover in the title. So they're really trying to speak directly to the Blu-ray collector, because if you weren't aware of it, like potentially I haven't been over the last 5 years, I wouldn't necessarily go ahead and write plus slipcover. But it clearly shows that it's a key terminology, it's a key word that these guys are looking for. So I'm now going to start to add in that terminology into my titles. The next one that I've got is Vice Academy. This is seasons 1 through to season 6. It's got on sale for $179 with that slipcover. And then you've got Overlord as well. Overlord season 1 to 3, plus the slipcover, selling for $130. Reason number 6 is Steelbooks. Steelbooks can often mean premium edition. So collectors are wanting the original, plus they're also wanting potentially the Steelbook as well. And you'll generally get a little bit more money for it if you're finding a Steelbook edition. So some examples here of where Steelbooks can come in really handy is there are smaller print runs of that Steelbook edition, which can make it harder to find. They're often usually more visually appealing. They've got better artwork, and collectors love to find cool, unique pieces of artwork that are hard to find. You've also got collector demand for it. People are actually out there deliberately searching for just Steelbook on eBay. So again, if you have a Steelbook, it's really good key terminology to whack into your title. And then you've also got frequent retailer exclusives like JB Hi-Fi, our local retailer that does DVDs. They'll often house a Steelbook edition of a certain movie or TV show that you potentially can't find anywhere else. And there are people out there that are just simply trying to collect those JB Hi-Fi Steelbook editions. So there's so many nuances to this. You've got to know exactly what you have your hands on and the reasons why. But some Steelbook editions that have gone on to sell for some ridiculous money. Probably the biggest and the best is Dragon Ball Z. If you've got the Steelbook edition, season 1 to 5 of Dragon Ball Z on Blu-ray, that has sold for upwards of $1,000, believe it or not. $1,000 for Dragon Ball Z Steelbook. You've also got Disney's Zootopia Steelbook. That was selling for $450, which is just madness. Remember, it's print runs, right? Print runs are causing these values to skyrocket. So they are tough to find, but if you do find them, you've got some ridiculous money. And then this one, Tora Dora with an exclamation mark. The Steelbook of that also sold, again, for another $400. For region number 7, we're at an advantage here in Australia because we have Region B Blu-rays. And Region B is just the playback system that allows Blu-rays to play for us on our Blu-ray players. Everywhere around the world has a different letter that establishes the playback capability. But for us here in Australia, Region B, it is highly sought after globally because of the print runs. There weren't that many print runs of Region B Blu-rays because our mass production here in Australia requires us to have just simply less copies out there in circulation. Now, they are region locked as well, so people like that desirability of having a region locked Region B Blu-ray. A lot of these shows as well never got US releases as well, so there are certain shows that are literally only ever printed as a Region B copy for us over here in Australia, and people globally still want to buy them. So they come over to the Australian eBay marketplace and they have to pick them up at a premium price point. So the Region B is definitely a good one to be finding. There are some Australian exclusives also that get imported back to the US for $60, $150, $300 odd as well, just because it's an Australian release and people do want that. So some examples. We've got Adventure Time. This is arguably one of the biggest collectible titles of TV shows on the Blu-ray out there. At least from my research that I've personally seen anyway. You've got Adventure Time, the complete collection, selling for $600 as an Australian Region B version. Now, I haven't cross-referenced that to what it costs over in, say, America on Blu-ray, but a Region B copy of Adventure Time, for some reason, ridiculous numbers on eBay. You've also got the TV show, an Aussie comedy, hence the reason why it's a Region B copy here. This one could be an exclusive to just Australian watchers. The TV show called Danger 5, a comedy show, selling for $250 on Blu-ray as a complete series set. And then you've also got Doctor Who. Now, Doctor Who in general, it's sort of a BBC title, and BBC, British television, across the board, British television, BBC does really well. But Doctor Who, out of all the TV shows, is definitely a no-brainer purchase whenever you see it, especially on Blu-ray. I've got an example here of just one season. Remember how I was saying before it needs to be a complete series set? Well, for Doctor Who, you can get season 8 on Blu-ray and it can go on to sell for $250. Now, for reason number 8, there are people that are buying Blu-rays just because they're Disney, Pixar, or Marvel, and especially like out of print, Disney, Pixar, and Marvel, that's where you've hit the home run. You've got the two. And they can really shoot up in price. So look for special characteristics within these brands, like 3D editions, if you find that. If you find the lenticular slip covers where they kind of move as you turn the DVD, those ones are really sought after. The Steelbooks and the box sets, like we've already spoken about before, but 3D Blu-rays and also 4K Ultra Blu-rays. I probably need to touch on that actually, because you can get a Blu-ray that is just simply produced as a standalone Blu-ray, but then you can get them where you've got the 4K Ultra, and you've also got the others as well where you get them in a case where it also has the DVD version, so it's Blu-ray plus DVD. So 2 discs, or the 4K Ultra, the more enhanced version. Look for those characteristics as well. I'm not saying that they're just in Disney, Pixar, or Marvel, but just across the board in general. If you're finding 4K Ultra, that's going to do better. If you're finding Plus DVD as a combo, that's also going to do better as well, just generally speaking. But some examples of these titles or these brands that are doing really well on Blu-ray. You've got the Ultimate Disney Pixar 4K collection here. It was selling for $570. There's the artwork there, if you can track it down. I thought this one was a really interesting one because this one was a similar one to Freaky Friday. This is the classic movie called The Parent Trap. And I'm sure you guys have watched The Parent Trap anywhere around the world. It's an absolute classic. The 20th anniversary Disney exclusive of The Parent Trap. That's the exact one you've got to find. It was selling for $360 as a standalone movie edition on Blu-ray, which that one absolutely blew me away. The next one that I've got is Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is a kids show. The complete series set of that kids show selling for $300. It's a Disney kids show. So there's some key markings to be looking out for. Now, for reason number 9, this wouldn't be, I guess, a fair video to produce to show you guys valuable Blu-rays if I didn't talk about anime. Anime is one of the highly most sought after types of Blu-ray when it comes to collectors out there. People and the market for anime is huge. It's also a category that I don't know too heavily well, but I just know that when I see an anime product, generally go ahead and do some comp research, and I've never really been let down. The numbers have always been, generally speaking, pretty good. So there are some pretty ridiculous situations here with the out of prints, the popular series first presses of the Blu-ray as well for the animes. You've got Madman releases are often really quite popular and highly priced, and there are a lot of anime collector's editions out there as well that are the more desirable Blu-rays to be finding. So probably the biggest one that I found personally in a JB Hi-Fi where I paid full retail price for it was Sailor Moon. You guys may have remembered that I went into a JB Hi-Fi. It was a buy one, get one free scenario. Sailor Moon was one of the highest priced Blu-rays that I purchased. It sells on eBay for $420, and I think I bought it for about $200. So you don't need to be buying these titles for like $5 in a thrift store. You can go straight to retail or Facebook Marketplace, know that it sells on eBay for $400 and freely pay $100, $150 on Facebook Marketplace, and you're still going to be profitable. So all of these titles in this video, I would highly encourage you guys do some research on Facebook Marketplace, see if you can find an underpriced one. Even go to eBay and do a search for it on eBay and see if somebody's selling it that have done no pricing research, and you can pick it up at a steal or even pick it up on auction. I think that's a great way to get underpriced copies of literally any product on eBay, because auctions generally sell for less than what the true recommended retail price is, or at least the true market price on eBay is. So there's some ways to try and find some of these great titles. But yeah, Sailor Moon, $420. You've got the Pokemon movie collection as well. So just generally speaking, if you find Pokemon movies on Blu-ray, just go ahead and lot them up, because there's a really good example here of a $350 price point for a bundle of, say, 20 Pokemon Blu-rays. So some good money there. And then you've got this other one that I hadn't heard of before that I wanted to put in the video. Let me know in the comments below, have you seen this show? Because I don't know anything about it, but it sells for $325. I'm talking about the complete series of Super Cub. I thought that was a pretty good result. And reason number 10, I have kind of briefly touched on it earlier in the video, but limited editions, just the simple wording of limited edition on the title can jack up the price point. of the item that you're looking at compared to its original version. So there were smaller print runs, there was bonus content allocated, it's got the collector's appeal, and it's got a higher resale value. So all reasons why the limited edition can do well for you. Remember though, you do need to be doing that pricing research. There is that PDF if you need it, just to be aware of exactly how to filter out everything on eBay to get the correct price points. Some examples are, there are some numbered limited editions, so it could be limited to 500 copies out there. So you might see 429/500 limited edition. That would be fantastic. I would go ahead and try and buy that. There are also hype stickers out there on certain titles, anniversary editions, just like the Freaky Friday that we were talking about earlier. And then also release day exclusives, like I touched on earlier from JB Hi-Fi. So there's some examples there of how the limited edition can come into it. But some examples here. We've got Breaking Bad on Blu-ray. There is a Money Barrel edition on Blu-ray, and it's sold for $400 on eBay. So a really cool version of Breaking Bad. The Godfather, there's a Blu-ray set that's got the script and the postcards. There's a whole lot to it, a whole heap, a bunch of extras, bonus content, selling for $400 on eBay. And then a really good one that you can find on DVD and Blu-ray on its own, but then the limited edition copy of it can go up even higher. I'm talking about the anime Neo Genesis Evangelion. This Blu-ray limited collection collector's edition was selling for $250. So hopefully that knowledge allows you to go out now and look at Blu-rays differently compared to how you ever looked at them previously, and just know that there is some ridiculous money in the Blu-ray category out there. But I would argue that the better category to actually look into is DVDs. DVDs has at least 4 to 5 times the supply in places like thrift stores compared to Blu-rays. You're going to be hard pressed to find a Blu-ray. You're going to have DVDs in abundance. So therefore, much like the Blu-rays, you're going to need to know the ins and outs as why DVDs go on to sell for some fantastic money. And I've got a video for you right here that unpacks all of the reasons why, plus I've got another 30 DVD titles that go on to sell for over $100. So we'll see you over there for that one.